there was a good old story from the 1800s with a doctor. His name was Dr. Anarchist. Oh boy, do many people fear this doctor, but man, does he also help a lot of people. And a lot of people don't understand why, because they don't know this Dr. Anarchist, right? More likely to be said as Dr. Voluntarist, in the real sense of anarchy we'll discuss here in this article from the 1800s, from a newspaper called Liberty that was published by Benjamin Tucker. Yes, we're going to get into untold history, essentially, through this short little story from P.K. O'Lally, somebody who sent this article to the newspaper at the time. And I thought this was a really cool little, funny little allegorical story talking to us about our world and the real condition that we are in. And the fact of the matter of how people do not understand what true freedom is. And so let's understand the most extreme sense of freedom, as we call it, that being the word anarchy, which, if you want to break it down from Greek, it means anarchon, no rulers. It does not mean no rules, it means no rulers, is just as monarchy means one ruler, as in mono-archon. So let's get into it. But first, a preface from P.K. O'Lally. He says, "I think if all man-made laws and all government of man by man were inverted, better results would accrue. I think no amount of misapplied effort, regardless of good intentions, is equal in beneficent result to an intelligently applied non-effort. I shall endeavor to illustrate this idea by the following. A man named Public felt very ill from a chronic disease. His friends advised him to consult his family doctor, a Mr. Constitution, which he did. The doctor examined, said it was an aristocratic disease, and as it was a very lingering sickness, therefore was not immediately dangerous. But neither death nor cure came, but the disorder of the whole system continued to increase until death seemed preferable. There was a man in the sick man's vicinity, a doctor named Anarchist, who was noted for his sound advice and whose merit did not inhere in the broad seal of his college diploma, but in his own demonstrated skill. Dr. Anarchist was not popular with the two classes who constitute what is called the public, because he was not understood by them. Dr. Anarchist immediately advised the discontinuance of the causes of his troubles. But doctor, said the patient, I do not take anything except the medicine which Dr. Constitution prescribed for me. Precisely so, said Dr. A. That so-called medicine is the cause of your disordered system. Those state correctional powders, those public pills and majority ointments and government plasters, throw them all to the dogs and you will not continue sick. Well then, Dr. A, what medicine shall I take to make me well? None. You suffer from taking. It is not that you need to take to get cured, but it is that you need to cease taking to avoid being constantly poisoned. Trust nature, attune your ear to understand her calls, and obey those calls intelligently. Take what you please, and when living in intelligent harmony with nature, you will please to take and do that of which is right, your intelligent self being the standard or judge of what is right for you. Mr. Public very quickly recovered and changed his name. He proffered to Dr. A large sum for having advised him how to cure himself. The doctor would not accept pay for service rendered a sick man. He said, "You cured yourself. I simply told you how to not make yourself sick. I visited you only once, a neighborly visit. I have an interest in the health of my neighbors, not in their misfortunes, necessities, or sickness." I assume that the moral of this is manifest. PK concludes. So, if you understand this story, I think it's very much allegorical for what is going on in our world, not just medicinally, but also politically. As evident with the fact that there was Dr. Constitution who handed Mr. Public, the public, this pill and constant giving them these different solutions like this will make you feel better, this will make you feel better, when it's actually the pill that's causing the ill. The pill is actually the root cause to the problem. It's not actually the lack thereof. So Dr. Anarchist recognized this. He said, wait, the problem is being aggregated by the solution. The solution is not the solution that we think it is. And so the anarchist had this outside perspective that wasn't understood, but it worked in practice, and that was what mattered. So when he said to the public, the patient, and said, hey, you gotta trust yourself and listen to your conscience, do what is right, you don't need this constitution. And then maybe your problems will go away because you're not relying on that anymore. You're listening to what nature gave you, what God gave you, your natural rights, you're exercising them. And I think this is very much important because many people look toward the politicians and the laws to fix the world's problems. But what if the answers are actually within nature? I say nature's the answer. That's the name of my channel. That's the whole premises of this talk. And to see an article like this from the 1800s that talks about this, when I have a book about the Taoist philosophy from ancient China, which goes into this idea of inaction, what they call wu wei, which means to let go, non-action, that really is the same exact thing as what this article is showing, which is just learn to let people live their life and then they'll get better because they'll be able to figure out what works for them rather than a bunch of people saying this is what you have to do. And we see now in the world of medicine, take this pill, take this vaccine, you got to do this because everyone else is doing it. But we find out we still have an increase in cancer, record highs of obesity and, Alzheimer's and autism and pretty much everything you can name out there. And what is actually then the solution? What if it's been here all this time? How did these problems happen in the first place? We have to ask why. It's because we don't understand the nature of our body and what it actually desires. So we're going against it, and then it gives us the results in response. We're giving it garbage, we're going to get garbage as the response. You can call that the natural law of the universe if you want by itself. But see, this doctor recognizes that natural law, so he doesn't need to create a man-made law. He doesn't need to use the man-made medicine because he recognizes the natural medicine. And this is why so many doctors are leaving the medical field and recognizing the importance of freedom, and why many people in the freedom field are recognizing the importance of individual health, because these two go so importantly together. And above all, both of these groups coming together, if they are to come together, it's in recognizing that freedom cannot be through the man-made mechanisms that we create. It is natural. If you recognize nobody can grant you freedom, nobody can take away your freedom, if freedom is inherent, then you simply need to exercise it. As we would say, exercise your rights. So I think this article is very telling because seeing it through a story, you have Dr. Anarchist, Dr. Constitution, and this one doctor is just not understood by people, but yet he's actually helping people. That's exactly what's happening with the voluntarist movement today. Not these fake anarchists who call themselves anarchists, the voluntarists. They set up events like the Greater Reset. If you don't know about it, check it out. Look at all the solutions they have. How come nobody in politics, nobody on the right side of things, nobody libertarian are even sharing these solutions? Yet they claim to be all about freedom and tradition and, trying to uphold the family and the culture and all these things that we say we care about. What if the idea is so simple, like growing food, that can heal almost all the disease in the world, feed all the people of the world, and help us restore the local economy, that it's so overlooked and never talked about? And so the same thing here with morality and voluntary interaction, because that's where the word voluntarist comes from. If you agree that we should live in a voluntary world, you want to live your life and not be disturbed by other people telling you how to live your own life, then you are a real anarchist, by the word voluntarist. I could put some questions on the screen for you so you can really understand this perspective, because I don't expect you to understand it right away if you're new to these ideas. But I hope the story does serve as a reminder of the world we live in. We have a sick society, and so we have sick people, and they're looking for solutions. Where will they turn? Will they keep turning to the solutions that keep causing the problem? Because when society collapses, when things go down, who are they going to turn to? If you're not there as an option to show them a better world, who is? So be sure to go to theliberator.us. That's theliberator.us. You can send me your article. I'll turn to a video for you. Also learn more. Everything is on there. Resources, newsletter, newspaper. You can print stuff. It's all there. Network, live radio, live streams. It's all there. Okay, we have one of the best platforms, I would say, for freedom on the entire internet. That's why I created it. And I do all my work for free and for education purposes only. Thank you for watching.